Oliver and Sophia seemed completely puzzled by what they were looking at. Why was there a tiny stone house sitting in the middle of the forest? By the way it appeared, it must have been there for years. Slowly and carefully, they started walking toward it. As they got closer, a strange noise began to reach their ears. It didn't sound like anything natural in the forest. They quickly realized the sound was coming from inside the stone house. Sophia took out her phone and used its flashlight to shine light into the house and figure out what might be there. "Oliver, you won't believe this," she said softly. Oliver watched her face change as she slowly reached her hand into the house, trying to take something out. But what exactly had Sophia found inside the tiny stone house? What was it doing there? And why hadn't anyone discovered it before? Oliver and Sophia loved hiking. For 15 years, they had explored forests and seen all kinds of things, but this hike was different. Their friend Noah, who didn't usually like hiking, asked to come with them. Sophia thought it was strange, but Oliver said it would be fun. When they entered the forest, it felt weird. The trees were quiet, and there were no animals. "It's too quiet," Sophia whispered. Oliver looked around and nodded. Usually, they heard birds or saw squirrels, but today there was nothing. As they walked, the trails didn't match the map they were using. "It's like the forest changed," Noah said, scratching his head. He pointed to a path. "Let's try this way." They walked for hours until they found an open area where the sunlight broke through the trees. "Look over there," Oliver said, pointing to something on the ground. It was a thin wire stretched low. "Watch out," he warned. Sophia crouched down to look at it. Why would someone put wires in the middle of the forest? As she asked, she followed the wire with her eyes and gasped. There, hidden among the trees, was a tiny stone house. It was old and covered with vines. "Who would build a house here?" Oliver asked, stepping closer. Sophia felt her heartbeat faster. The house looked strange and forgotten. Noah stared at it, his face full of curiosity. The forest felt even quieter now, like it was holding its breath. The three of them stood there, unsure of what to do. They all had the same thought. What is this place? And why is it here? Oliver, Sophia, and Noah stood frozen, staring at the tiny stone house. It looked so old, like it had been there for years. Vines covered its walls, and the door was slightly open. "It doesn't feel right," Sophia said softly. But Noah couldn't stop himself. He walked closer, his curiosity taking over. As they approached, Oliver noticed more wires on the ground. "Be careful," he said, stepping around them. "Why would someone put these here?" Sophia wondered out loud. The wires seemed strange, like they were meant to keep people away. But why? Noah leaned toward one of the small windows on the house. It was dark inside, and he couldn't see anything. "Give me your flashlight," he said to Sophia. She hesitated but handed it over. Noah shined the light through the window and gasped. "What is it?" Sophia asked, her heart pounding. Noah didn't answer right away. "There's something in there," he finally said. "It's a box, and it's hooked up to the wires." Sophia's eyes widened. "What kind of box?" she asked, stepping closer. Oliver grabbed her arm. "Wait, don't get too close," he said. But Sophia couldn't help herself. She had to know what was inside. Suddenly, a strange ticking sound came from the house. It was quiet at first, then louder. "What's making that noise?" Oliver whispered, his voice shaky. They all backed away a few steps, unsure if it was safe. "This doesn't feel like a normal house," Sophia said, her voice trembling. Noah nodded. "Someone put this here for a reason," he said. But what reason? And who could it be? The three of them looked at each other, fear and questions filling their minds. Oliver, Sophia, and Noah were still staring at the strange stone house when something else caught Noah's eye. "Look," he pointed to a tree nearby. Oliver and Sophia followed his gaze and saw it too. A small camera hidden high up in the branches. "Why would there be a camera here?" Sophia whispered, her voice shaky. Oliver's stomach tightened. "Someone's watching us," he said. The thought sent a chill through all of them. Then Sophia froze. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her eyes wide. Oliver and Noah listened closely. There it was, a soft sound, like footsteps coming from the forest. The noise grew louder, closer. "Someone's coming," Sophia whispered, her heart racing as she grabbed Oliver's arm. "We need to leave now." But Noah wasn't ready to go. "Wait," he said, pointing back at the house. What if there's more inside? We need to know. Oliver shook his head. No, it's too dangerous. We don't know who's out there. But Noah was already walking toward the house again. Sophia begged him to stop. Noah, please, let's just go. Before anyone could move, the footsteps stopped. Silence filled the air. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Then a distant bark broke the stillness. Dogs. And they were getting closer. Oliver grabbed Sophia's hand. We can't stay here, he said firmly. But Noah's curiosity had taken over. He turned back to the house, his eyes locked on the tiny window. I just need to check one more thing, he said, his voice trembling but determined. Sophia pulled Oliver closer. Something's wrong. We have to leave before it's too late. The three of them looked at each other, fear and uncertainty written on their faces. The barking grew louder, echoing through the forest. The barking grew louder, and Sophia's fear turned into panic. Oliver, they're coming. We have to run, she cried, grabbing his hand. Oliver didn't hesitate. He pulled her along as they sprinted away from the stone house. Noah was ahead of them, clutching the strange box he had taken from the house. Leave it, Noah, Oliver shouted. They can track us with that thing. But Noah shook his head. No, I need to know what this is, he yelled back, running faster. Sophia stumbled over a branch, falling hard to the ground. Oliver stopped instantly, helping her to her feet. Are you okay? He asked, his voice full of worry. She nodded, tears in her eyes. Go! Don't wait for me, she pleaded. Oliver refused to leave her behind. We're in this together, he said firmly. He helped her up, and they kept moving. But the barking was getting closer. The sound of heavy footsteps mixed with the dogs' howls, making it clear that someone was chasing them. Noah kept running, not looking back. Noah, stop! Sophia shouted, her voice cracking, but he was too far ahead to hear. Oliver clenched his fists, frustration and fear boiling inside him. Why won't he listen? He muttered under his breath. Suddenly, the barking stopped. Oliver and Sophia froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. Why did they stop? Sophia whispered. Oliver didn't have an answer. The silence was more terrifying than the noise. Then, out of the shadows, a man stepped forward. He was tall, with a stern face. In a sharp voice, he asked, "What are you doing here?" His gaze was fixed on Oliver and Sophia. The man's presence made it clear they weren't alone in the forest. Oliver held Sophia's hand tightly. As the man stepped closer, "Who are you?" Oliver asked, trying to sound brave. The man looked serious. "I'm Reed, the forest ranger," he said. "Now tell me, what are you doing here?" Oliver quickly explained how they had stumbled across the stone house and the strange box. Sophia's voice shook as she added, "Our friend Noah took the box and ran. He's gone deeper into the forest." Reed frowned. "That box wasn't supposed to be touched," he said firmly. "It's part of something I've been working on." Sophia's fear grew. "Why is it so important?" she asked. Reed hesitated, then said, "Let's talk at my cabin. It's safer there." Reed led them through the forest to a small wooden cabin. Inside, it smelled of wood and rain. He offered them water before sitting down to explain. "That stone house you found, it's not just some old building," Reed began. "It used to be part of an amusement park that closed years ago." Sophia's eyes widened. "An amusement park? Out here?" she asked, confused. Reed nodded. "Yes, but there's more to it. That house is now a protected site because I discovered something rare nearby, a species no one thought existed." Oliver leaned forward. "Then, why all the wires and cameras?" he asked. Reed's voice dropped to a whisper. "To keep people out. I'm the only one allowed to study the area. That box Noah took, it's my tracker. I left it by mistake the last time I was there." Sophia felt a shiver run down her spine. "So, someone's been watching us?" she asked. Reed nodded. "And they know you were there." The cabin fell silent as the weight of Reed's words sank in. They weren't just lost hikers anymore. They were in the middle of something much bigger. Oliver, Sophia, and Reed left the cabin and hurried back toward the edge of the forest. The sun was starting to set, and shadows stretched across the ground. Sophia clung to Oliver's arm, her fear growing with every step. "What if Noah doesn't listen to us?" she whispered. "We'll find him," Reed said calmly. "But I need that box back. It's too dangerous for him to keep it." As they neared the forest's edge, they heard a voice in the distance. "Noah!" Oliver called out. Moments later, Noah appeared from behind a tree, holding the strange box tightly in his hands. His face was pale, but his eyes were determined. Reed stepped forward. "Noah, that box doesn't belong to you," he said firmly. "It's part of something I'm studying, and it could put you in danger." Noah held the box closer to his chest. "Danger? What kind of danger?" he asked, his voice shaking. Reed didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped closer and said, "You don't know what you're holding. Give it to me, and I'll explain everything." For a moment, Noah looked unsure. Then he sighed and handed the box to Reed. "I thought it was something important, like a secret treasure," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble." Sophia let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Thank you, Noah," she said softly. Oliver patted his friend on the back. "You did the right thing." Reed studied the box for a moment before putting it away safely. "You were lucky," he said, looking at all of them. "This could have ended much worse." As the group walked out of the forest together, the tension started to fade. But deep down, they all knew this wasn't an ordinary hike. They had uncovered a secret that would stay with them forever. Oliver, Sophia, and Noah left the forest with heavy hearts, but also with a sense of relief. They had uncovered something strange and mysterious, something most people would never believe. As they walked, Reed stayed behind, guarding the stone house and the secrets it held. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about the camera, the wires, and the ticking box. "Do you think we'll ever know the full truth?" she asked Oliver quietly. He shook his head. "Maybe some things are better left alone," he said. Noah, still shaken by what had happened, finally spoke. "I thought I was just helping, but I think I almost made things worse," he admitted. Sophia smiled softly. "At least we're all safe," she said. Back in town, they promised each other never to return to that part of the forest. But the questions lingered in their minds. Who had set up the cameras? What was Reed really protecting? And why did the stone house feel so wrong? Weeks later, they saw Reed's name in the local news. He had made a big discovery, one that would change how people viewed the forest forever. Oliver, Sophia, and Noah stayed silent, knowing they had played a small part in uncovering something extraordinary. But even now, when Oliver closes his eyes, he can still hear the ticking sound from the box, echoing in the back of his mind. What else was hidden in that forest, waiting to be found?